we're gonna jump right back in. It has been a great day, really, really, really great day, and then powerful and impactful. And just trying to make sure I am where I need to be right now. I am perfect. So we're going to jump right back in. Once again, thank you all for being a part of it. Thank you all for staying with us during this time. Um, the person I'm getting ready to introduce really needs no introduction. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a leader among leaders. I could definitely give you a dissertation about the accolades and the accomplishments this gentleman has. He's collaborated with so many powerful folks, from different corporations to NFL team to the NBA, and he's been all over the world, and he's is definitely sought after. He's a father, he's a community leader, he's a compassionate and empathetic human. He's a friend, he's a brother. Let me introduce Brother Kweku.
Hey, Brother Kweku, I think you are on mute.
I know he's here.
You might want to check your mic settings. If you check the little upwards arrow to the left of your, or to the right of your microphone icon, just check and make sure your mic is turned up.
Hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hey, I got that lesson from Joel. I thought I had everything set and I didn't, so I want to 100% apologize for what, but let that be a lesson, how it can happen and how we have to not only be prepared, but we have to be double prepared. I've been ready. I've been on this phone call since 10 o'clock, grabbing jewels and everything. But before I start, I just want to say one thing. I don't know if everybody knows, but if we could just in our reactions, put a hand clap. This is Kwabena Marcus Collins' wedding anniversary. And he's selling 13 years with this beautiful wife. And when I think about that, honestly, I want you to think about everybody who's on this call. You never know what somebody is giving to you, like how this is their special day going on with everything. But for this brother to be able to come out, want to be able to not just be a role model in what he's doing here, but he's showing you in his life to be able to do 13 years, him and his beautiful wife, his daughter. I mean, they just do beautiful things. So I wanted to say congratulations to you. Many, many more years of blessed. Coach Ambrose, I want to say thank you to you. And I tell people this, I love what I do for a living. I absolutely love what I do. Brother Ambrose said he puts on everything around him that gives him energy. As you can see behind me right here, I got my bookshelf, and it's not just because it supports Mother Africa and whatnot like that, but it's because of all of the knowledge that I get from that. And when I do in my presentations, I want that around me because I let people know, hey, listen, I'm not just coming off the top of my head. What I'm coming to you is from years of knowledge, of experience, of reading, but also live life experience. So I just want to tell you that I'm so ready to go. I hope you can feel my energy. I know sort of towards the end, we kind of get like, all right, I'm ready for this to be over. I've been on this, but what I want you to do is to look, listen, and learn, because we're about to go on a journey. Let's put up that slide for the presentation with what we do. And what I want us to do is to do something a little bit different with our slideshow today. Can we put up the slideshow? Can we put it all the way towards the end? Let's start at the end. So who's ever doing the slideshow, I want you to move it all up right there. Now, what I want you to look at is this. Most of the time when you do a presentation, I think some of the best thing comes at the end. I was listening to Kwabena's presentation, and it was a great presentation. But when he started to go through the questions and answers, you could feel there was a whole lot more going on. So when we start to talk about that, what I want you to think about is this. I want you to think about how are you feeling right now. What I want everybody to do is in the chat box, I want you to tell me exactly what's your emotions, what's your feeling. So right now, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling energized. And you know why? Because whenever I do a presentation, my heart starts to beat just a little bit faster. But what that lets me know, it lets me know that, you know what, I understand the situation that I'm in. And when I'm in this situation, that means I'm not going to not appreciate this moment. They've given me just a few minutes to be able to speak to you. And I want you to know that I'm giving you everything I got, and I want you to get this. But when I give it to you and I give you the real, you got to be able to hear it. So I see all of the things. I see my people are blessed, ready to inspire. I'm hyped too. I'm ready to give you everything I got. But I want you to know this presentation is not just for everybody that's on this line who's this presentation is for. It's for anybody who hears or listening to it. Because when we start to talk about what we're talking about today, the seriousness of this is this. We all deal with this situation, myself included. And that's why I thank Coach Ambrose, because what he did was allow us to get into a holistic self-awareness about being at our best, because when we at our best and we feel our best, we maximize our potential. The reason why most people don't maximize their potential is because they're not at their best. Now, you might be at your best by your mind, but not your body, or maybe at your mind and body, but not your spirit. So this is what I want you to hear, and I want you to hear it well. If you look under the keys to success, last time I did this presentation, this was the quote that I actually ended with. It says, a dream is in the mind of the believer. It's in the hands of the doer. You're never given a dream unless you're given the ability to dream that dream, to make that dream manifest. So what I want everybody to do right now is to think in your mind, what do I want to happen? What do I want out of life? What do I need life to give me? See, so many times we talk about dream killers and dream snatchers, and life will do that. From a certain situations will come, and it'll make us start to doubt ourselves. It'll make us think that we can't get what we want, and we start to settle for less. And then that's what happens to what Coach Ambrose was saying. We don't get everything that we need. And if you think about what you've heard, well, I love to be able to go last, and I hate to be able to go last. I love going last because I listen to everything, and I'm full right now. I'm full from a mental standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, even from a spiritual standpoint. The words and things that we've been given has been so powerful. And if you listen to that, hopefully that's reactivating your dream, saying, you know what, if I doubted for a minute, you know what, that doubt is gone. If I hesitated for a second, now I'm ready to go back. If I was on E, my engine has been full and I'm on F and I'm ready to go. But then the question is, how do we sustain that? And so this is the real part to it. And I want you to look at that second part, to keys to success. It says, if you are too weak to overcome habits that are obviously bad for you, then indeed your future is bleak. So can we just keep it real for a second? Because we're talking about all of the good things that we want and the dreams that we have. But the truth of the matter is this. For us to achieve those dreams, we know that there's going to be trials, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be hurdles. But if we let those things get in the way, especially the things that we can control, we can't blame nobody about our future. And we know it's obstacles out there for us, but because we know that they're there, we're going to come over. One of the things Coach Ambrose talked about again was surrounding yourself. I don't know how well you can see my pen, but on my chest, I got a pen of one of the first Black men put on the stamp, Ernest Everett Just. He was called the Black Apollo. He was a scientist, the first to win the Spingarn Medal for the NAACP. But when I look at the work that he did, being a doctor back in the early 1900s, in the early of 20th century, I think about what this brother had to go through. And whenever I start to get down, whenever I start to think I can't, whenever I think that hill is too hard to climb, what I do is I reach back into my ancestors. I reach back into my leaders and my heroes of yesterday. And I think about all of the stuff that they went through. And I said, oh, if he could do that, guess what? I'm standing on some shoulders of some giants. And when I'm standing on those shoulders of giants, I can see. Now I can see those hurdles. Now I can see those obstacles. And guess what? Now I can clear that path. And I say, what? Nothing's going to prevent me from getting my dream. And not only am I going to get my dream, I'm going to make this path wider for those who come after me. So what I want you thinking about is this. Your success is not just vital for you. Your success is vital for the people who coming after you tomorrow. So I'm talking about your little brothers, your little sisters. I'm talking about the people who not even born yet that's counting on you to do the right thing. So one of the reasons why it's sometimes hard to hear somebody in my profession with being a psychologist, it's first thing people hear is mental health. And they say, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. What that got to do with anything? But as brother and Coach Ambrose told us before, he said mental health, it's all about what? The state of mind of doing something good, being something great. So when we talk about mental wellness versus mental illness, this is what you got to remember. If you do things from a mental wellness standpoint, you're doing your eating, you're doing your drinking right, you're doing your sleeping, you're doing your exercise. Those are the things that let's prevent that mental illness. So when we start to think about those things from a mental health track, when you see prevention, secondary and tertiary, prevention means what are those things that I'm doing to prevent it? What are the primary things I can do, the things I can do to be proactive, to keep good health? But now the second part is, let's say I start slipping. That's a secondary track. Let's say I fall off a little bit. How do I get back on the road? Who do I need to talk to? What book do I need to read? What do I need to let manifest in my life to be able to come out so I can get back on the right track? But the tertiary is this. I done messed up. I done failed. But the beautiful thing about life is this. When you fall, don't mean you have to stay down. There's an old quote from Asian culture, specifically Lao Tzu. It says, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Hear that again. Fall down 7 times. And I'm talking with my hands, Drew. Fall down 7 times, but I'm standing up 8. That means no matter how many times you knock me down, I'm getting up. And so when we think about mental health, what we want to think about is this. What kind of state am I in? That acute, chronic, and cyclical? We're going to talk about those cycles a little bit more. Go up to slide 9 for me. And as you can see, I'm kind of going backwards with this. So I want you to just move it up 1 slide for me, whoever got my tone. So right now in your chat box, what I want you to do is think about this. Now, before I ask you, what are those feelings that you were feeling? But now what I want you to do is I want you to bare your soul with me. I want you to get emotionally naked for this standpoint. Because see, the reason, what did Jay-Z say? He said, you can't heal what you don't reveal. So many times we got these masks that we wear. We got this armor that's on. What I want us to do is we in a safe place right now. And what I want you to do is say, in these few minutes I got left to talk to you, say, Doc, this is something I was hoping during this conversation. And I don't care if you're a person who's looking for a job or if you're the CEO, whatever you think, and you say, I was hoping I would get this from here. Because oftentimes, you know what happened? I go to speak to people, I'll speak to teams, but then afterwards, the coaches that come after me and say, hey, I needed that too. I'll talk to business and they'll get me in front of their employees, but then the administrators, the managers be like, hey, I needed that too. See, all of us can build from this. So what I want you to write in your line, tell me, what are you hoping to get from this today? What do you hope to be able to learn? I think I got enough stuff that's on here, but I want you to go ahead and write it on your screen. But this is what I need you to know. When we start talking about how do we become our best us, well, you got to think about what are my stress relievers? What are the things that I can do to relieve the stress? So the first thing what you got to know is this, that you are the expert. In life, it's a lot of trial and errors. We make mistakes, but can you learn from those mistakes? Can you not repeat those mistakes? So when you start thinking about how life is changing ever, how do you start to recognize what's best for yourself? There's always going to be people to tell you, you need to do A, you need to do B, you need to do C. And we need to listen. But remember, nobody is going to know you better than yourself. Now, this right here is the price of admission alone when we start to think about what causes stress. See, stress is going to come at you in 3 ways. And those is what we call vices. And vices, you either want to avoid or escape. Avoid is this. I see it coming. I'm leaving before it even gets to me. Escape is this. Man, I can't believe I got caught up in this again, but let me get out before it get the better of me. So when we start thinking about vices, vices come in 3 ways. The first one is this. You get assault from the enemy. Everybody got opponents. Everybody got enemies. Everybody's got haters. Everybody's got opponents. So you know that that's going to happen. So when those opponents come at you, see, those are the arrows you kind of see coming so you can kind of block them. Because you say, I knew they were coming at me like this. I knew they didn't like me. I knew they didn't want the best for me. You're not surprised by it. All of us hearts probably just a little sad yesterday when we saw how them Heat did our Bucks. We knew that the Heat was what? They was coming after the Bucks. They wanted to get them while they knew their best man was down. Props to them for doing what they had to do, but you saw how the Bucks fought. They never stopped, even getting the foul down to the last 2 seconds. So I'm talking about this. Even when the enemy seemingly has you down, we don't give up. Fall down 7, stand up 8. But see, we know that that fire is coming from the enemy. But you know what we're not ready for? Is for friendly fire. You know what friendly fire is? Friendly fire is when you get hateration from the people who love you, the people who's supposed to be on your team, the people who's supposed to be guiding you, the people who's supposed to be helping you, rooting for you, and that hurts. And so when we start to get that friendly fire, sometimes we don't know how to act. And then we say, hey, that's the biggest dream killer, because you know what? Your opponent, you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do A and B. This is what I'm going to do. This is my dream. They're like, you can't do that. But then you go to your moms, or you go to your dad, or you go to your friend, you go to your mentor, and they give you that advice. They're like, yeah, maybe that is too much for you right now. And that hurts. And it ain't that they mean it sometimes to hurt your feelings. You know, that's just where they at. But this is one thing I love about Muhammad Ali. He said, everybody believes it's impossible until somebody shows it's possible. And what I say, you the expert on you. So if it's in your heart to do, what did the quote say? It's in the mind of the believer, in the hands of the doer. That dream is not given to you unless you got the power to do it. So once you do it, you let nobody stop you from it. But I'm going to tell you the worst kind of vice, the worst kind of injury is what? It's a self-inflicted wound. It was a football player by the name of Plexico Burress. He was just going out on the town, having a good time in New York. But he was in New York, so he thought he had to be safe with it. Where he carried a gun. He shouldn't have been carrying a gun. The gun goes off in the club. Shoots somebody. Who does he shoot? He shoots himself in the thigh. Hurts his football career. But guess what? He goes to prison. And while he's in prison, he misses the birth of his daughter. And you think about this. Not only did he miss time and money from football, he missed the birth of his daughter, but he had to do it in prison. Why? Because he shot himself. Think about that. He shot himself. Now, we kind of look at that and say, man, that's like hard luck, or sometimes we even ridicule. But what I want to ask us is this. How many of us are shooting ourselves in the leg by what we do? Remember that first quote I gave you, the second quote? It says, if you are too weak to overcome habits that are obviously bad for you, then indeed your future is bleak. So when we start talking about stress, how do we relieve stress? We relieve stress by doing the right thing. We relieve stress by putting ourselves in good situation. Remember, we said we're going to avoid and escape. So what you want to do is avoid that assault from the enemy when you can. Avoid those hurtful feelings from when you get friendly fire. Sometimes people say stuff, like I said, and they don't even know what they're saying, or they don't mean it in a harmful manner. But when that happens, you got to have that thick skin. And then, most importantly, we can't hurt ourselves. We got to be able to be careful with the things that we do, putting ourselves in good situations to win. If you on this call right now, you winning. If you've been listening the whole time, you winning. If you've been half listening, then you only half winning. So you only get out of something what you put into it. I see a lot of people don't have their face on the screen, and that's kind of, okay, because that's where it's at. But sometimes you ask yourself, is it because I don't want people to see me because I'm not dressed properly? Is it because I'm doing some other stuff and I just want them to think I'm here and I want to get credit because I want to be able to try to get this computer at 2 o'clock? See, sometimes we think we outsmarting other people, but we outsmarting ourselves. See, that's that friendly fire I'm talking about. How are you taking advantage of it? So when we talk about stress relievers, what are we doing? One of the big things is this: communication. Talk with somebody who you love. Talk with somebody who you care about. And that goes to the professional health services. If you need somebody like myself, if you need somebody in this kind of category, a support group, do it. Remember, we talked about these mask people wear these hurdles. These are some of the things that get you to that next place. That's why mentorship is so beautiful, so powerful, because they become ad hoc counselors. That means they're not really a counselor, but they kind of become a counselor because of the wisdom that they give you, the advice that they give you, the steps that they give you to take to avoid mistakes that they once took. But let me tell you this right here. The biggest stress reliever, what you're going to do, is all about organization. How do you organize your day? Are you really organizing your day? Is your day working for you, or are you working for it? See, when I get up in the morning, I set a bunch of goals, and I be intentional about my day, what I'm going to do. I knew when I got up today, I wanted to look nice. I said, I want to make sure that I look good for the people who I come to present to. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't prepare. This is where I fell. Because I was gaining so much weight over COVID, I said, you know what, I got to start working out. So I've been working out. And the good thing is, I just been working out so much that my neck is too big. Now I can't even button my shirt. I got to go get some new shirts. But what I'm saying is this: I knew what I wanted to wear. I knew what I wanted to put on for the day. I knew what I wanted to say. I had this presentation written already. So I was going over it. But you know what else I wanted to do? I wanted to listen to what the other speaker said. I said, let me be here at the beginning, because I wanted to make sure that I'm not saying the same stuff they heard, that I could add on to the great things that had already been said. When I listened to Brother Driver, I was like, oh, this is what I'm talking about. It's about having that drive. It's about having that leadership. It's about having that faith and that commitment. These are all of the things that we need to have. And so this is what you got to recognize. If you hear something over and over and over, you said, man, he said that, and he said that, and she said that. That must mean you need to hear it, but not only hear it, but apply it. So when we start talking about stress relievers, recognize this: you are the expert on you. So you understand what works for you, what don't work for you. Watch out for your enemies. Watch out for friendly fire, but most importantly, watch out for that inner hurt that you can bring yourself. If you need to communicate with whether a professional, a mentor, or a friend, or a group, make sure you do that. I told you I prioritize my schedule. I say what I'm going to do at the end of the day. But then you know what I do? At the end of the day, I evaluate that. I say, was I jacking? Or did I really do what I said I was going to do? See, this is how I make sure I keep myself in check, because I can lie to other people. I can fool other people, but I can't fool myself. And see, if I don't want any self-inflicted wounds, I have to be totally, brutally honest with myself. And if I fail for the day, I say, hey, you know what? I fell down, but guess what? I'm stepping back up again. See, these are the stress relievers that we need. Let's go to the next slide, one slide up, because now we're going to talk about what causes stress. And so when we talk about those self-inflicted wounds, we talk about all of those other types of wounds, whether it's from friendly fire or whether it's from the enemy, the opponent, we got to look about where do these come from? So what I want you thinking about is when we look at that one, that historical, that childhood trauma. See, we all got pains from when we was little, from mistakes that happened that we did, mistakes that happened before we could do it, things that happened to our ancestors and generations before that we still feeling the grunt of, whether it's individualistic or systemic racism or trouble with things of that nature. Those are things that we got to recognize. We can't say, hey, we can't ignore, but we say, now that I know what it is, well, how do I figure this out? Well, also what we're dealing with is what vicarious trauma. What's vicarious trauma? Every time you hear about Breonna Taylor, every time you hear about Brother Blake, every time you hear about Brother Floyd, every time you hear about Brother Aubrey, every time you hear about Brother Tamir Rice or Dontre Hamilton, whoever it may be that's been hurt, unfortunately, by those who are supposed to be in power, that hurts us. And it doesn't even have to be a death. It could be a shooting. It could be an accident that has happened. We take on so much stuff. And so when we wonder why we snap, why we wonder why we're not in our best place, is because it's so much hurt that's inside of us. So we got to figure out, where is this hurt coming from? Because once we know where it's coming from, we can try to release it. So when we start talking about, like, where do they come from? What's those internal indicators? Brother Coach Ambrose said it. We got to work on our exercise. We got to work on our diet. We got to work on our sleep. The average person needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. Now, some people are a little different, but you know your body. Remember, I said you're the expert, but you know if you're not sleeping through the night. You know if you're sleeping 3 hours. You know if you're dragging towards the day. Why aren't you sleeping? What can we do to do something better for that diet? What are you eating? Just think about what you eat now. Brother Ambrose have given you some wonderful tips. He told, I ain't even start eating till 12. That lets you know he's doing some type of intermittent fast, and that means he knows his body. He knows what's best for him. Now, that might not be best for you. You might need your 3 meals, but do you have a schedule? See, when I'm intentional about my day, I know what I'm going to eat and when I'm going to eat, because if I'm not on that schedule, that's one of those things that causes stress, because once I get hungry, I'm ready to snap. Once I'm hungry, I'm not at my best. So what are we talking about? We talk from stress relievers to stress. But I want you to see that life, and you see that what the WTF is not the WTF you're thinking about, but I'm talking about F as in families, friends, and your finances. Because when we think about what causes stress, what's your circle? Who are you around? What's the energy? What's the frequency? What's the vibrations that you keep around you? Because if it's negative, your life is going to be negative. So when we start talking about stressors that come, how can we avoid them? How can we escape? Think about who you're around. Think about what you allow into your system. And now when I'm talking about that, it's not just families and friends, but I'm thinking about what you hear, what you read. So don't think that what we listen to, what we consume on a regular basis don't affect us. That's why it's so very essential that you make sure that what you put in is something positive. The old saying is garbage in, garbage out. You can only release what's inside of you. So we want to make sure that it stays positive. But now the reason why we're here today is when we talk about employment, toxic work environments. So now when we start thinking about what causes stress, oh my goodness, if you're in the wrong place to be, if you're in the wrong place to work, it causes stress. And everybody knows that. So what are we saying? How do I make my work environment the best environment? How do I make this really work for me? Let's go to the next slide. And I want to show you to something that's called the Inky Guy Model. Now, this is out of Japan. This is a Japanese concept. It's sort of like a Venn diagram, and it's 4 components that you need to have. If you want to be in the right spot as far as finding your passion and your purpose in life, you got to ask yourself, what do I love to do? What do I love to do? Like, I could do this for free. And then you ask yourself this, what am I good at? Because sometimes you love to do something, but you're not good at it. Like, I love to sing, and I think I can give the people what they want, on stage. I get the energy, but my voice just not going to give me that contract. So I got, you got to have common sense with it. So you ask yourself, what do I love? What am I good at? But then you ask yourself this, what does the world need? Because remember, it's not just about you, it's about what you give back. My maternal grandmother used to tell me the best way to heal yourself is to help others. Because what she knew is that energy that you put out, it comes back to you. So when you're doing something from a work job that's productive and is good, it makes you feel great. The reason why you see the feast and the reason why you see Shannon smiling, because you know what? They love what they're doing. They know what they had for you. They knew the program. They couldn't wait to bring Brother Donald Driver to you. They couldn't wait to bring Brother Chris. They couldn't wait to bring Brother Daniel. Daniel. They couldn't wait to bring Brother Kwabena. They couldn't wait to bring Joe because they knew what was coming. They said, I want to give this to them because I want them to have their best. Well, that's what we want you to have too. We want you to have a sense of what does the world need? So when I do this every day, it's a purpose and a passion. And let's get real. You got to make money from it because you can love what you do, be good at it, the world need it. But if you're not getting paid, that's one of those stresses. So what you have to do is say, hey, listen, what can I do to find something that I absolutely love, that the world needs, that I'm good at, and that I can get an earning from it? And you might say, hey, well, I'm not in a position to do that right now. Like because of some of the situations I'm in, I just got to get in where I fit in and to do that. Recognize that, respect that. But let me tell you this. If you stay in that situation and you get comfortable and you settle, you're never going to be able to maximize who you are. Everybody has a dream. And most people who achieve those dreams are the people who has what Donald Driver talked about was faith, talking about seeing something when it was nothing to be seen, about going places where everybody told you you couldn't go there, having those high expectations. When you heard Brother Chris come in, he's in a major administrative position first, but when he told you 12 years ago when he started, he was in a more humble position. But what did he do? He worked his butt off. He grinded. It don't come overnight. Well, if you're willing to work, you're willing to have that dedication, that commitment. That's what Brother Driver said. If you got that commitment, guess what's going to happen? Think about Donald Driver. You know why people was like, man, you my role model? That man barely made the Packer team when he first came out. He was a 7th round draft pick. Nobody knew him. When he made the team, it was a miracle he made the team. But he went from barely making the team to being a very much fan favorite and a Packer Hall of Famer and an all-time leading scorer. You know why? Because of his work. You used to hear Mayweather say it all the time, hard work and dedication. When you put those together, it's something powerful. So with this Inky Guy model, what I want you thinking about this, every time I apply for a job, every time I'm going someplace, let me reach for what I want. Don't just get something that you got to settle for. Start reaching for the stars. But then you know what you do? You make them know that they should take a chance on you. See, when they tell you about who I am, see, Shannon is nice. He didn't want to really bust me out. It's like, this is Dr. Smith, you know, he's a good guy. But you know what else also I am? I'm 298082. That's my inmate number from Wisconsin DOC. So you know what? So when people hear that, it's like what? Yeah, that was it. I did 18 months on paper. They were about to put me in prison. The only reason they didn't put me in is because I just graduated from school. So I got a catch. I got a hook. I got a second chance. And you know what I said? I said, I'm running with this. And while I was on probation, my old football coach saw me. And he said, man, what are you doing working in this place? And I told him I was embarrassed. I had to humble myself and say, Coach, I made, you know, I'm in this position. I didn't even want to make no excuse. I just told him. And he said, you learned your lesson? I said, Coach, I'm ready. He introduced me to a lady in HR. They gave me a job while I was on probation. And I had all of the credentials, but everything about my future and my past said no. But what it was, a mentor, somebody who was positive in my life, stood in the gap for me and said, guess what? I got something for you. Now, whether you take advantage of this or not, it's on you, but don't say that nobody didn't do it. And what I'm telling you is this, it's going to be somebody who's going to be willing to take a chance on you. It's going to be somebody who's going to be there if you do what you're supposed to do. And when you do it, you got to take off with it. You got to do it. The way I say thank you is not by saying thank you with my mouth, but thank you with my actions. So everything that you get here, you got to get it. You got to grind with it. You got to run from it and do with something what nobody thought else could be done with it. Let's go up to the next screen. Stay in your passion. So right now, this is what I want everybody to do. I want you to think about this. Take a deep breath, as Coach Ambrose would have us do. I know I've been going a mile a minute, but I wanted to make sure I got everything into you. But what I want us thinking about is this now. We're living in unprecedented times, very unprecedented time. It's not like there's never been a pandemic, because there has been a pandemic before, and one to this kind of proportion. We look at the Spanish flu around 1919, 1920. In addition to that, you know what? That's when our ancestors were still going through Jim Crow. So it was civil unrest, social injustice. But you know what the thing is? Most of the people from that generation that lived during that time, they're not alive now. So it's like, nobody has really a reference on how to deal with all of this. And then in conjunction with the pandemic, in addition to the social unrest that we see at an all-time high right now, we still got regular life. Remember those other types of traumas we talked about, the historical trauma, trauma with the family, the friends, the community trauma, all of these vicarious type of traumas we're dealing with a lot. But because we soldiers and we keep marching on, sometimes we don't know we're doing too much. And now I'm really speaking to my leaders of my leaders. I'm speaking to the people who are in positions that's got to keep it together for other people. But the question is, how are you keeping it together even for yourselves? So what I want you to do is just to think about this. If you see on here, usually like in business, we'll go through things as it relates to quarters. Like this, the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. We're going to condense this. And I want you to think about just from March through May. And think about everything that you lost due to COVID. And I'm talking about because of the shutdown. So the employment losses, the financial losses, but also I want you thinking about what losses you lost from hugs, from kisses, from communications, from hanging out. Because see, when we start to wonder like, why is this time more difficult than it's been before? Sometimes we don't recognize the level of hurts that we've taken. But also what I want you to see is this, what did I gain from this time? So I want you to create like a T-chart. What is a T-chart? That's like when you say the pros and the cons. I want to take this job, what's the pros? Then I say, what's the cons? And then depending on how that list look, helps me make my decision. Well, with this T-chart, I want you to do a gains and losses. What did I gain from COVID? Because it's a lot of stuff we got from COVID. If you were really using this time right, you said, you know what? Like I told you, I didn't use COVID right in the beginning. I thought I was, but then I saw I was gaining weight. But then I used it as a time to say, hey, you know what? I got to take this double time because I saw the losses I was taking. I was getting out of shape. I couldn't fit my clothes. My energy levels wasn't good. I didn't like how I looked when I looked in the mirror. And so I was like, oh, I got to do something. So you know what? I had a little extra time. So you know what I did? I flipped that into the weight room. I flipped that into the bike. I flipped that into everything I had. But guess what else I did with it? I started riding my bike with my children. I started working out. So it was just like a plethora of beautiful things that came out of it. So even though I didn't like being in this COVID, this was one of the things I gained. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at this from March to May. What did you lose and what did you gain? Then I want you to look at June. What did I lose? What did I gain? Look at July and August. What did I lose and what did I gain? Because once you start to add up that list, you start to say, man, I know why I'm snapping now. Man, now I know why I'm not feeling good. Now I know why I'm eating bad. Now I know why I'm drinking more. Now I know why I'm smoking more. Now I know why I'm snapping off more. We look in the news and we see it. We can't deny it. Suicide went up 300% last month. We see the domestic violence go up. We see the violence in our community going up. You know why? Because people are in unprecedented times and we're taking a lot of L's, but we're not doing enough to compensate for them L's. So when you see all these losses that you've taken, you got to say, what can I do to improve this? How can I get this back? What can I do? Because if you don't find a way, it becomes an extra burden. And then that pressure becomes stress. And that stress comes out in negative stress relievers. And then that's counterproductive to what we're trying to do. Because now when your boss talks slick to you and you got stress on you, you're quicker to snap. Now you got no job. Or now guess what? You can't get that promotion. Or guess what? You can't move on the way you wanted to. And you wonder why. So what I want us to do is just to take a deep breath. And I know you're saying, man, I can't think back to March. See, that's the whole point. Remember I told you I'm intentional about my day and I write stuff down. See, if you're intentional about your day every day, you could go back to that journal and say, man, what did I lose in March that I didn't even think about? Because, you know, you weren't even thinking about going to that Bucks game, but now that you said, man, we had tickets to that and I missed that. Well, that's a big loss. It seemed like something little. But if you see on here, say a death by 1,000 COVID cuts. And when you start looking at everything that you lost, you start to think about how different it is. Now you say, I can't remember this. Well, remember what you can. But if you looked on there now, if you look where it says in the fourth quarter of October, we want to be predictive. What I want you to do is with this T-chart is this. Think about your goals and plans. We've been hearing that word the whole day. What are my goals? What are my hopes? What are my dreams? What do I want to do? I want you to write down, what do you hope to gain from the October to November to December? And then every month at the end of October, look and see, what did you get? And what did you lose? What weren't you able to do, whether it's because of COVID, because of social injustice, or because of something else going on with your life? But then when you see those L's, you say, now how do I recover from this? How do I bring some type of gain so this hurt that I took, it doesn't get to me? You understand what I'm saying? Because we taking L's, and when you take L's and you don't even know because they invisible L's, guess what? They pound up. And like I said, I go into the weight room. I'm pretty strong. You know, I can flex a little bit. I don't know if I'm like Ambrose and Donald Driver, but, you know, I can do a little something. But I tell you what, I don't care how strong I am. There's a weight you can put on the bench press. There's a weight you could put on the squat bar. There's a distance you could tell me on the bike that just goes beyond my limits, because I don't care how strong you are. Everybody has their limits. And that's my lesson really right now to the people who run in this program, to the people on the back hosting, that's making sure all of the visuals go, that's making sure everything is met, making sure deadlines is met, making sure that they're keeping their employees straight through the furloughs and everything of that nature. It's a lot we all taking on. And we got to recognize that as strong as we may be, as strong as we all have limits. And if we don't make sure that we get those gains, you have to do something. Remember, I told you I was gaining weight. I saw something. I just had to tell myself, I said, you know what? I'm taking a 2-week vacation. Did it hurt me financially? Yeah and no. But you know what I said? I don't care how it hurts me here. If I don't do it here, I'm going to self-destruct. I'm going to implode. So it was something I had to do for myself. Now, thankfully, I did have a position where I could take it. I know that's not always everybody like ability to do. But what did Coach Ambrose said? You know what? Sometimes if you could just take 5 minutes out your day, do a deep breathe, and you know what you tell yourself? I'm a champion and I'm gonna get through this somehow, some way. You look at the ancestors, you look at your people who done climbed out of things that seemed unclimbable, that done got out of misses and mixes up that you didn't think was possible, and they were able to overcome. And if you never saw anybody overcome what you did, that means you gotta be the prototype, you gotta be the example. So somebody who right where you at can say, hey, he did it, I can do it too. I'm looking at everybody up on the side of the thing, and you know what? I can feel your energy, I feel the love. But you know what I want more so than that? I want you to implement these things. I want you to recognize, hey, I got to do some self-assessment. It says it takes more courage for an individual to look into the deep corners of his soul than it takes for a soldier to fight on the battlefield of war. So think about that. It takes more courage to look into the deep, dark corners of your soul, those things we don't want to look at, we want to avoid, we want to ignore, we want to act like don't exist, than it takes for a soldier to fight on the battlefield. So when you start to think of things of that nature, you got to say, what are those things that I know that's within me that I know I got to fix? What are these things inside of me that I know that if I don't take care of, they're going to take care of me? What was the quote? If you are too weak to overcome those habits that are obviously bad for you, then indeed your future is bleak. So what we got to start seeing is, what are these things that can pull me down? What are these specialties, these self-inflicted wounds that I can avoid? Let's go up to the next slide. Your personal outlook. This is kind of like our conclusion, because what I want you thinking about this, what do I need to have success? What I want you thinking about, what's your circle? What's your human capital? We talk about mentors, we talk about friends, we talk about people who you're around, that energy you're around. Keep your circle tight. Understand sometimes you got to prune it, but then understand also who you got to add. Sometimes there's some people you didn't even know you needed, and they'll come your way, but you can't close your eyes. You can't shut the doors on opportunity because they don't come how you think they supposed to look. Understand what I'm saying? Opportunities come in so many different manners, in so many different ways. Be careful. Those vices, what can you avoid? What can you escape? We all got them. Everybody on this line got a vice. And if we don't take care of it, it will take care of us. If you do get caught up, ask yourself, how do I get out while minimizing my losses on it? Health, taking care of your mind, your body, and your soul. When we talk about being intentional about your day, every day your goal should be like, what am I going to do as it relates to my mind? What am I going to read? Who am I going to talk to that I know going to uplift me, that I know going to give me some strength, that I know going to give me the words that I need to do? If I'm feeling a little low, they can pump me up just a little bit. My body, what type of exercise am I going to do? Is it going to be yoga? Is it going to be weightlifting? Is it going to be biking? Is it going to be running? Is it going to be swimming? Whatever it may be, what are you doing to improve your body? Maybe you say, you know what? I can't do too much with my body now, but what I put in, because your diet is your real medicine. So you start thinking about what type of medicine you put in your body. Now I want you thinking about your spirit. What are you doing for that part that values your ethics, your values, and your morals? How are you doing with that? When we talk about wealth, world doesn't run by money, but let's be honest, we need that money. We need that bread. How can we get it legally? How can we get it legally without hurting somebody else? And how can we get it where we understand my needs versus my greeds? You know, sometimes we talk about needs and wants, and those can kind of get blurred. But when people get in trouble, it's between their needs and their greed. So how can I use my wealth not only to help me, but to help other people? And that wealth goes into the Inky Guy, that work. Remember that model we looked at? Things that I love, things that I'm good at, things the world need, and things that can pay me. When I can fit all four of those together, that's when you find your passion. And that's why it's easy to get up for work, even though it's hard, because you say, it's a mission for me to do. It's something that is in me to do. It's something I got to accomplish, something that I got to do. It's something that's in me that I got to give to other people. Like I told you, before I started to present, my heart was beating. And it wasn't like I was nervous, like I was scared, but it was like I knew and understood the seriousness of the moment. And I was just praying that the time I had and the words that I say would be able to say something to touch everybody, not just one person, but everybody somehow, some way that inspires them to be the best that they can be, to maximize their potential, to take it to the next level. So when we start talking about how can I be successful, we talk about that holistic way of living. What's my circle? How do I remove those vices? How do I keep my health and wealth in state? And how do I make sure that my work aligns with all of that? Let's go to the next slide up. So again, remember, we started this with mental health. And what we've been talking about this whole time is mental health, but not like most people think. Because see, mental health is a continuum. It's an umbrella, and it goes from mental wellness to mental illness. Mental health can't be separated from your physical health. It's all your mind, body, and your soul. The question is, are you going to be primary in prevention about it? Or are you going to wait till things start to mess up to do something? Or are you going to wait till they all tore up and broke up and then fix it, which is still cool, but it's just like, think about all the stuff we could have did before. Because see, if we don't fix it, see, that's the mental illness that everybody is scared of, is afraid of thinking. I don't want to say I'm depressed. I don't want to say I have anxiety. I don't want to say that I'm bipolar. I don't want to say that I'm suicidal. We don't want to get to that end, but the reality is some of us get to those points. Then the question is, how do we bring back? How do we reduce the stress? We talked about those stress relievers, avoiding certain things, escaping certain things, but putting those beautiful power things in our life from the beginning. And let me tell you this. Therapy is a beautiful thing, because what we just did today, believe it or not, is 4 hours of therapy. It was about getting us good, making us feel great about ourselves, giving us that hope and that belief. It was raising literally those toxins in those neurochemical transmitters in our body that make us feel good, that gives us that extra bounce. Everybody know when you feel great. And you feel great because somebody has said something has happened that made your day feel good. That's where we want to be. And that's what you want to have all the time. And see, when you're there, you're on a mental wellness spectrum. See, we've been giving you kind of general things, but like I said, nobody knows you like you. You are the expert on you. So guess what you do? You start to look and say, what are the specific things I need to do to make myself well? What do I need to do to make sure that I'm healthy, not only for me, not only for my family, not only for my employer, and not only for my community, but for my world? Because like I said, your success is not only your success becomes the success of somebody else going forward. Let's go to the front slide, which will be our last slide. I did the Lucas Joyner on y'all today. We had to move this backwards. We said the focus for today was to what? Build and strengthen these certain strategies to maintain our emotional equilibrium during an unpredictable season of life. Now listen, if I tell you we're gonna run a mile, you're gonna run at a certain pace. If I tell you we're gonna run a marathon, you're gonna run at a different pace. The problem is right now, because things are so unstable, things are so unpredictable, we have to have a different level of flexibility where I'm saying, hey, we just running. I don't know how long we run. It could stop tomorrow. It could stop in 2 weeks. It might stop in 2 years. But what we have to do is put it in our mind that nothing's going to stop me, that I become unstoppable. Let's go to the next slide. And this was my head slide. And when you look at it, I want you to see this, because this is the evolution of who I was. You see the little boy? I grew up in what they call the infamous 53206. I call it the loving 53206, because when I grew up there, it was none but love. Yeah, I saw the decline and I saw the things that happened, but just like we saw the decline, we can do a rewind and make it back great again. But also I see that kid that's in the middle, and that was a kid that was operating on frequency 0. That was the one who was getting in trouble. That was the one who was using all his powers and his gifts and talent for negativity. That wasn't getting me nowhere, and it wasn't getting my community nowhere. But then as I started to look, I see myself evolve into a pseudo businessman. But the last picture on the bottom, what I see there is that's when I really started to have a revelation of what my purpose was for this world, what I was supposed to give back. And ladies and gentlemen, once you get to that point, that's when you in that passion, that middle circle, and that Venn diagram of the Inky Guy. It's like, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm built for it. I know what my strengths are. I know what my strengths are. I stay in my lanes. I expand them when it's able to expand, but I stay where I'm supposed to be to do what I'm supposed to do. I play my role. I put my piece of that puzzle into this fabric of life. And that's what I want you all to be able to find, that same type of peace, that same type of humanity, that same type of self-love, that same type of peace, tranquility, and calm. When you wake up in the morning, you're like, I know what I'm built to do. And you know, more importantly, when you die, you know there's going to be a legacy that you're going to leave, where you're going to say the world is happy that I was here. On that other side is all my circle. That's my frequency. These are people who I build with. And as you can see, I tried to make it as diverse as I could because that's how I live my life. I can't stay in one small circle. I recognize that love comes in all different packages in all different types of ways. At the bottom is my wife and my children, my in-laws, and at the bottom is my business. And the reason why I state that my business is because I built my business 4 days after my daughter died. And see, we all go through tragedy. We all go through trauma. And I had all this hurt, all this pain in me. And I was like, what am I going to do with that pain? So every time I see my business, I'm giving love to my Alicia. She's not here and the business can't replace her, but I let her know that she was the reason for it. And that pain that I had, that became the fuel for my fire for something different. So what I'm telling you, that's my timer going off saying I'm talking too long. But what I'm telling you is every pain you got in you, all that fire, all of that disappointment and hurt, channel that and use it to make it something special, not only for you, not only for those who came before you, but most importantly for those who coming after you. I know I'm out my time. I apologize. I wanted to have time for questions, but my name, my email, my phone number is on there. Use it at any time. Use it at any time.
And we please give a reaction to our good brother, Kweku. Please give him, show some reaction. There's really not anything to be said. First of all, let me affirm you that, one, I appreciate you. Number two, I love you. And thank you for those words. I mean, there is nothing I could say that I even have words to conclude of what you said. But thank you for being in our space to have folks on our call to see why it's important to really lift up, to really help the folks to understand that this journey is so wide and there are a lot of things that are happening in our lives that we don't even know about that people are going through.
Yes, sir.
And as you stated specifically around it being unprecedented time, we're going to be here for a little while. And so hopefully the words of encouragement that Brother Kweku gave you all will assist in some way to be able to help you all. So Brother Kweku, thank you once again. And I love you, man. I want you to know that from my heart, I love you. Thank you. So it has been a day. Nafisa?
I'm still here. I'm taking a deep breath and just taking it all in.
Oh,
a lot.
man.
It was a lot. And that last one, Dr. Kweku Ramel Smith, I appreciate you. That was just some powerful, powerful insight. Thank you so much.
I mean, we are at the final and we're a little over time, but it was time well spent for us to be over time. So I'll give my quick thoughts. What today? I mean, how grateful am I right now to be in this space with all of you? Thank you to all of our folks who spoke today. This is exactly why we are here. We're trying to build what success starts here. And wherever you are in your success journey, hopefully there has been some tidbits, there's been some pieces that you all can definitely ensure that you can take and use food for thought. Nafisa, I'm reeling right now.
Yeah, I think we're in the same boat. I know it's a little after 2 o'clock and most of you, may have meetings. Some of you might be going to start your journey. We know that you have lives to continue and we hope that the information, the people that we had, our guest speakers, our volunteers, again, our committee behind the scenes, we have several individuals
Absolutely.
that was working their magic to make sure that our technology worked well. So I just want to say thank you to technology because as we know, having Zoom calls and having just general virtual calls can be difficult. So we appreciate the hands-on white glove treatment that's been given here. And I just want to say thank you, even to our participants that participated. There was a gentleman that said, the choices we make and decisions we make can change our output on human life or human history. So I just want to say thank you for that because it's not just our speakers and our volunteers that have given good feedback, but our participants, the people that are on this call. There was a guest speaker that said earlier, you're taking the first step, and you have taken the first step and making change. And it starts here. I'm just
Yeah.
very pleased and thankful for the way that this event has gone. If we can
And
show
so
that next slide of our committee members or our sponsors. I'm
our
sorry about
sponsors.
that.
Can we go back to our sponsors?
Yes.
We have to thank our sponsors, Nafisa, and other folks, Julie, Chris. I mean, there are so many other folks behind the scenes. Thank you. Our United Way folks. I work with a great group of people. To my colleagues, everyone, Sam, a star, our planning committee, Dan, Katie. I don't want to start naming folks, but our marketing team and all those folks, and then Goodwill, who we'll be doing more work with, that they got Donald Driver on to say some powerful words around personal branding. And then, you know, Power for Media, right? We've done some work with them for quite some time to bring, you know, our 5-year to the front. And so thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and another thank you, and one more million thank yous. Next slide.
I just want to say it's these people and Shannon and myself and the United Way communications team that really helped put on an amazing event today. We hope that the information you've received was beneficial in some way or the other. We started planning this event back in February. As you know, we initially planned this for an in-person, just as we did for our previous 4. And it's this team that really shifted things quickly and made things happen. So I just want to say thank you to our additional planning committee members. These are the faces behind the scenes responding to some of your questions and making sure that no one goes missed and bringing up anything that you'd like to say today. So thank you to each of them.
So I think
the next thing I want to share is a save the date. That's a 30-day check-in. So for those of you that are interested, we'll have a 30-day check-in on October the 14th. We will send each and every single one of you that have registered an invitation. So just make sure that you have logged on and registered for today, and you'll get an invitation, not only for the 30-day check-in, and thank you to Goodwill for partnering with us and doing this, but you'll also get a survey. We want to hear from you. So if you weren't able to allow your voice to be loud and proud today, hopefully you can do that in the survey that you'll get after this event today. So please share your feedback in the survey.
Absolutely. Next slide.
And then we're excited to announce some winners. I know that's what some of you are still on the call for. So drum roll, Shannon, I'll let you start.
I'm starting?
You are starting, my friend.
Okay.
You want to make that announcement of who the first 2 winners of those laptops will be?
Yes, the first 2 winners of the laptops will be Anthony Little, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Anthony Little, and David Hinkfus.
All right.
Will be receiving 2, both of them will receive a laptop.
A laptop, yes.
Yep.
So those are ThinkPad Lenovo laptops donated to us by Manpower Group. So thank you to our North American IT department over at Manpower Group for donating those laptops. And then we also have some gift cards from Goodwill. Thank you so much, Goodwill. They donated $100 in 5 gift cards. So we'll have winners to go and do some shopping and get all fresh and make sure you're professionally dressed, as Joel and so many of our other guest speakers have said. So I'll announce maybe 2 and then we'll kick it over to Shannon to do the other 3. Mm-hmm. But we have Giovanni Perez, congratulations. Charles Hampton, congratulations. And then Shannon?
Yes, and then our other winners are Maurice Murray, William, I think it's Harrell, and last but not least, to our $100 Goodwill winner will be Dayton Thorstensen. I think that's it. I think I said it correctly, Thorstensen. So thank you, you all. This has been a great, great, great event. We did this virtually, Nafisa.
We did.
We did this virtually. How exciting is that? And so one of the other last things, and then Nafisa, I'll make sure you have last words. If you have last words. Not only are we doing this 30-day invitation to you all, please, we ask that you all please do the survey for us because it gives us information on what we can do better, what we can do differently, and who else we can bring on this journey with us. Secondly, we have materials for folks that you all can go, and we're going to make sure you all have that as well. We have a virtual library with a lot of tools in there, and we want to make sure that you all have access to it. And so
Can
we'll
we
get
show
those.
that screen? Can we show that screen? The virtual library, I think it's the last screen of the slideshow, and it has United Ways. There's a United Way link in there for us. And while you're talking, I'm sure they'll pull it up.
Yeah, and so in that virtual library that we have, it is specifically around all of the things we talked about today, the building blocks, right? We talked about so many things in the building blocks, and it's getting the resume, getting ready to go to the interview, and thinking about how you can do things differently, but also how you think differently, which will help you throughout the process. And so we're going to keep that virtual library up to date. We know that there'll be other folks who will want to add resources to it, so we'll do that as well. And just know that we are thinking on all sides for this work to happen. And so if there's any way, please, 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 and I will say it once again, please respond to our survey so we can know what we can do even better. Once again, this is virtual, right? Just think what would have happened if we had been in person. Like, it's unbelievable. But we did this virtually from our home. And so from wherever you all are, please know that we are always thinking about things differently. Once again, it's just popped up. And I don't know if you all can see what it is, but it's on our United Way site. It is, as you can see here, and it's one of the things that we did. I mean, really great thinking by our marketing team is things are in buckets for you to think about the things you need. So it's more of a, point and click to figure out what those things are. So you have your resume, your interview, financial management, and there are some other host of a lot of other things that are on there. So once again, please do the survey. Thank you all. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our participants. We couldn't have done any of this without you all.